Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my law firm assists veterinarians with employment contract issues. Today, I'm going to talk about how long are most veterinary associate contracts. So, first, you need to know two things to determine kind of what an average length of a contract is. One is how to terminate the agreement, and then two, does the contract automatically renew? So let's kind of hit all of those. So there's going to be usually an initial term to the contract. And so an initial term just means the length of the contract before it either just ends, or if there's language, it could just automatically renew for successive terms after the initial term ends. So the normal length for an initial term is somewhere between 2 to 3 years. And so in most contracts, after that 2 or 3 year period ends, as I said before, there'd be language that states it automatically renews for 1 year terms after that, and then it just continuously renews unless terminated by the vet. That's a normal amount of time. If you have a 5-year contract, it's pretty abnormal. Now, does it ultimately matter? Not really, because of this. Every contract is going to have ways that the vet or the employer can terminate the agreement. So there will be some kind of, it's called without cause termination. And without cause termination means either party can terminate the agreement for any reason at any time with a certain amount of notice to the other party. So you could be 1 month into your job, you hate it, maybe especially lately, the lack of staffing. It just makes your job impossible, or maybe you're being paid on pure productivity and the volume is just terrible. And you're like, this is not for me. Well, in the contract, if you have without cause termination, usually it's somewhere between 30 to 90 days for most veterinary associates. And so you would just say, I'm giving you my notice. And then it's to say it's 60-day time period. You'd work out those 60 days. At the end of the 60-day period, you could leave. So if you have the ability to terminate the contract at any time for any reason, the length of the contract doesn't really matter in some ways. So if you had a 5-year term, but you could terminate the contract with 60 days notice, it's really only a 60-day contract if you think of it that way. Now, what's the benefit? I guess a better way of saying it is many vets will say, well, when's a good time to renegotiate the agreement? Well, usually it would be at the end of whatever year period it is. You may approach the employer and say, if you're just on like straight base salary, I've been this productive and I believe I, deserve an increase to this amount. Some people are concerned if it just automatically renews forever, that they'll just be stuck with the same salary forever. You can renegotiate at any time. I mean, you could go to the employer and say, look, I'm generating, $600,000 a year and I'm only making $100,000. I'd like an increase to, for most vets to be like somewhere between like 18 to 22% of what their net collections are. And so in that scenario, you would just say, look, if you don't raise my salary, I'm going to give you notice and then leave. And obviously they may call your bluff if you're not actually willing to leave. But that's a good, kind of stopping point to say to them, look, I'm worth more than I'm being paid and it's time to renegotiate. So the average length of the contract doesn't really matter if you're able to terminate the contract at any point. Is there one length that's better than another? Not really, not taking that into account. Now, there is one other type of kind of length of term. It's called an evergreen contract. And so this is being used more and more lately for whatever reason. There is no initial term set. So it will just state the contract will continue forever until one of the parties terminates the agreement per the terms of the contract. Once again, that's fine. If you can terminate the contract without cause at any point, if it's a contract that just goes on forever, still is just as long as the notice period required. So that's a little primer on what a kind of average length of a vet contract is. If you have any questions about your employment contract, you can always give us a call at the phone number listed below. or you can reach us through our website, chellelaw.com. And I appreciate you watching the video. Thanks.